is the button for missiles?
This is a real team project. The Ukrainians are here to learn and we are their instructors, but we're operating together to give them the best chance when they go home.
We do a lot of stuff, from NATO. According to NATO standards, according to NATO rules, I think it will be in the future, nearest future, I hope, it will be so useful for Ukrainian guys.
Training may be sometimes harder than fight. Train, fight, win.
We expect a lot of them from the very early stages, and so far they've delivered.
Hello, I'm Jenny Klochko and you are watching my podcast. Today we are on a very secret location. Welcome to the Operation INTERSTORM. But INTERSTORM,
Yes.
it's quite. I remember the day when President Zelensky arrived to the UK, and I did an article about it because it's something all Ukrainians, not just military, but civilians were waiting for, to protect the sky, to close the sky. And I was one of those civilians who, from day one, went to Downing Street and were asking to protect the sky. What's the role of INTERSTORM in this whole approach?
So INTERSTORM is that overarching operation that covers all of the training for Ukrainian personnel in order to support that advanced fast jet capability, which will be F-16 for Ukraine. And I remember in February 23, the then Prime Minister announced that the UK would provide that training.
One thing we will be doing, starting actually relatively soon, is training of Ukrainian pilots, and that's something that we've discussed today.
And to be able to be part of that training, for us in the UK, to be able to support Ukraine from here is really important to us. I cannot imagine how people of Ukraine must feel when they're under this threat. I cannot imagine how the students that are here learning to fly feel when their families are at home under this threat. And yet they come to work every day. They are singularly laser focused to get on with the job so that they can go home, fly, fight and win.
When you hear that fighters, not the pilots, but shooters, those who join International Legion, and just recently President Zelensky said that we would welcome retired pilots to help us with F-16. What do you think about it? Is it actually doable?
I think that sort of thing is really down to those individuals from individual countries and whatever the individual governments decide is appropriate and allowed. It's not something that we would necessarily do in the UK because we don't operate F-16. What we're doing for the coalition is we're providing that first step of training in order to best prepare them for F-16 so they can go home and win.
How difficult for you to actually start training? Because it's not just learning the machine, isn't it? It's a different mentality. It's basically you wiping up something which is left after Soviet approach. Different types of planes, different maybe tactical and way of thinking.
Yeah,
how do you deal with that?
So this whole project starts with the English language training. We understand, as I don't speak particularly good Ukraine, I don't dream in your language. Your students don't dream in English. So there's the first obstacle, is to make sure that they have the basics of the English language and then actually go on to advanced English language so they understand what we are trying to teach them. And our whole role here is to get them into a position where they can operate the F-16 to the Western standards. Now that doesn't mean that we're going to train everything out of them. That's not the case. What we're trying to do is deliver them to be best prepared to go home and fight in an F-16 against an aggressive nation.
Sometimes it's so different to Ukrainian education, learning to fly, but in the most it's so similar to Ukraine. We're feeling here almost like the home, So we really appreciate for our pilot instructors because they give for us not only knowledges, they give us much significant thing, it's experience.
Do you find difficult to be trained and have this different approach?
I think that all of us now have his fight. We fight maybe on the desk in our classroom. We are training here, and training maybe sometimes harder than fight. Train, fight, win.
It's not that comfortable, but you would have a parachute on.
Right, so it's like my
so
pillow.
you sat more like this.
So and this is how I drive.
Yes.
Fly.
That is how you do. So anything I do, you get the feel.
Right.
Anything with the pedals, you get the feel. Everything I do.
Why does it have to be? Because it's training.
Training. So if
Yeah.
you let go, if I say to you, right, I'm going to teach you how to do a turn to the left. Follow me. You just hold the controls, but you don't do anything. When I move the stick, you can feel what I'm doing. And when I move the stick, you can feel. And then I get you to let go. I then let go and say, do the same. And then you do it on your own. Go left and right, because I've just shown you how to do it.
Oh, it doesn't seem that easy. It's actually.
I can teach anybody to fly. But I need you to think. And I need you to fight.
Fight. Is a missile thing.
It's radio.
It's right. Oh, where's the button for missiles?
This is a training aircraft.
Yes, but if we were in the jet with the missiles. So if I wanted to, how to correct to say, strike, release missile, fire missile.
So we wouldn't do it on this aircraft type because that's not what this is for. So we leave that to the next phase of training so they can get on and teach weaponeering. We're teaching them firstly how to learn in English and how to fly in a Western way. And then we move on to some tactical work so that we can best prepare them for the next phase of training, which is where they will do weapons.
Where usually weapons are, in other jets.
I haven't flown their jet, so I'm not sure.
Oh, so it's not like red button or release or anything.
I'm not sure. I'm sure you could find it on the internet.
I'm sure again. I saw you today. You were one of the students, and it wasn't test, was it?
No.
It was one of the training, is the opportunity for the weather.
It was. So we were trying to get a low-level sort in. So as part of what we train, building up the basics and the basic procedures and things like that. So we go and do low-level flying. So it was to take one of the students low-level flying. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I was going to ask, it's exciting.
I love it. This is part of the reason I do the job. I love going out and going flying.
You're going every day.
Absolutely.
So, as I understand, you train not only Ukrainians. At the moment, it's part of an INTERSTORM operation, but you were training other students before.
So I am a qualified flying instructor with the Royal Air Force. So my normal job outside of Operation INTERSTORM is to train trainee RAF pilots on how to fly the tutor.
Are Ukrainian students different from the students you had before?
I tend to find that all young people are pretty much the same wherever they come from. I find that the Ukrainian students are driven, they're young, they're professional, and more importantly, they know they've got a job to do, so they take this training very seriously.
Are they resourceful? You know, it's one thing to take it seriously and being good at it.
Yes, so they are excellent, and again, it's part of they know why they're here, they know the reason for it, so they take their flying training very seriously. It is encouraging, and they are excellent.
Really? Even the language, you know.
So language, when they come here, they are given an intensive English language course, and they develop as they fly more and more and get used to the English. They get better, and then by the time they finish, they are no different to me flying with any NATO nations that I've flown with in the past, where English isn't their first language.
Did you have other foreign students apart of Ukrainians?
So I've not on this aircraft anyway, I've not taught any other foreign students. So the Ukrainians have been the first time I've had a chance to teach foreign students on the tutor. But in other aircraft in the past that I've worked with a lot of NATO allies where English isn't their first language, and again, it is never an issue.
So, is it correct to understand you teaching on other aircrafts as well?
So the way it works to become a qualified flying instructor in the Air Force is you yourself have to go and learn on another aircraft type or be qualified on another aircraft type, and when you get enough experience on that, usually after your first tour, you can come back and be an instructor. For me personally, I flew multi-engines, so big aircraft, cargo aircraft, things of that nature. But I loved coming back to the tutor because I get to go upside down, I get to fly around at low level, and I get to fly with students as well, which is fantastic. It's a very rewarding job.
I was told by your colleague there is no buttons for the missiles and any weapon.
No.
But if we were in the jet which has that kind of thing, is it button or it's...
Yeah, so you know, if you had a more advanced aircraft, a fighter aircraft, then yes, you will have lots of other buttons and switches to do with weapon systems and things like that. But what we're doing here is we're just teaching the absolute basics of flying and building up their capacity and building up their techniques so that they can go on to those more advanced aircraft.
Yeah, they have like 5 weeks, isn't it? 5 weeks training course is a bit longer than that.
So it is a bit long, a bit longer than that. But the idea being is a very intensive course, so it doesn't let up. But we try and make sure that we can give them the best training available, the best training that we can give them, so that they're in a good position to move on to the next stage.
At what stage of your training you can see there's been a switch? They feel more confident or know what they're doing. You know, there's just like shift.
There is. So what we tend to find is when they come here, you know, that as you can imagine, you'd be a little bit nervous at the time. But then when we impress upon them that, you know, we're here to support them, we're here for them to achieve and do the job, and more importantly, we're giving them the responsibility. So we're saying, no, you plan your sortie. You tell us as the instructors when you want to get airborne. You tell us when you're going to do what it is you say you're going to do. So it is very much led by the students. We expect a lot of them from the very early stages, and so far they've delivered.
Interesting. I saw today when you left the jet and you were walking and you shook hands. You seemed like a happy instructor with the student. But when the instructor is not happy with the student, and because student being not good enough or being naughty, how do you let them know they are young men? So it's not something.
So again, this comes down to why do we do flying training in the tutor? It is a nice, simple aeroplane where they can make mistakes and they can learn the basics in a relatively safe environment. So today's sortie, yeah, very happy. We'd had a good flight. It was a lovely day, but windy. But it had been a lovely day and a good flight. So yeah, he'd worked hard, which is again is what we look for. Are you working hard? Are you trying your best? Which he was. And even when you have a bad flight, you can come in and you can talk to your student and go, okay, how do you think that went? Okay, right, there are some things that you can always learn. There's always something you can learn from every flight. And then we tell them what's wrong so that they can be better for the next time.
Your students showed me they were in this green, how would you call
this? A flying suit?
Yeah, the flying suit. So, and it's in the UK, special suit, flying suit for the special jet. How important is that to be wearing as a student? Or as a...
Yeah. So the clothing that we wear, we wear it from the outset. Now I could fly around in this tutor quite happily, but this aircraft or this flying suit is designed to be flame resistant. So if there was a fire in the aircraft, aircraft or anything like that, that we're all covered up, which is why it covers our hands. We wear flying gloves as well, so should there be a fire, they're protected. We have the helmet. But again, we're teaching them for the future. So on the next stage of training, when they go off and fly jets, they will have the same flying suits, a similar helmet, and they will be in an ejector seat rather than a parachute. So from the very outset, we teach them, we get them to wear the clothes that they're going to wear in the future, and we teach them the basics so that they can go on and go and fly those fast jets.
I can't imagine how these young people feel being here when their families, parents, brothers, sisters are at home facing this every night. To see how they cope with that is inspirational. It really is.
I was talking to one of your instructors and he was saying that it's difficult to see how you're missing as the students missing home, and by you very motivated and very passionate about children. Is this missing home and missing your family, is it helpful or it's a bit distracting?
It's helpful because we won't finish quickly. We try learn better because we want to come back home quickly and help our country.
Do you have kids?
Yes.
And how do you explain them what you do, and are they excited or they just worried? How do you?
It is very hard because we cannot be together, but my family understand this problem and help me.
Have you been in Ukraine?
I haven't been in Ukraine. I thought Ukrainians drank vodka, and these guys don't drink vodka.
How can you say that? It's a Russian word, it's an enemy word. All we do, we produce horilka.
So I was given something as a gift, and it's very nice.
What color is that? Is it clear?
No, it is coloured. It is coloured, yes.
Oh, wow.
In both Ukraine and here. I know the students have plans for a celebration and just celebrate Independence Day for Ukraine. I was asking the students how they would normally celebrate, and it's with family, it's with friends, and it's relaxing but being grateful for everything you have. So I do hope that this Ukraine Independence Day is similar for everyone.
And I have such an amazing story with that shirt. And a few others, they are more modern. And it's just, I felt like, you know, independence, Ukraine, and embroidery. It feels very intimate. Very. I know it's a clothes, but right now, it felt like, I don't know. It's difficult to open, so there's no embroidery shirt on me today. Have you got one? Maybe as a present from Ukrainians?
I do have some gifts from Ukraine, which I cherish.
So the pilots who come from Ukraine for this training, and they have different background. I have noticed they have different age. How helpful or unhelpful their previous experience, combat experience, or with this jets in Ukraine?
So the students that we train here are all academy graduates. So none of them were frontline fighter pilots in Ukraine before. So we're taking them from the very start. They are young. Some of them have done more than others in terms of that flight training. Some are already qualified but have still been selected to come to the UK to do this training with us, to then go to F-16. But all the ones we get here are either straight from the academy or having just finished the academy.
The selection process, is a sort of combine some mechanism of Ukraine side and British side or NATO side. How does it work?
No, so Ukraine decides who they're going to send us. They have already been selected as pilots and they've already been streamed to be fighter pilots. So we're just going to take the people that they send us and then try and improve their skills and prepare them to go to eventually F-16. So they've already been pre-selected by Ukraine.
Is there any requirements they have to fit in?
They have to go through our full medical procedures, so a full aircrew medical, lots of tests before we allow them to fly with us. Generally those standards are very similar, if not the same, to what we get from Ukraine. So we're not just taking people off the street. These are people who have already gone through a selection process in Ukraine, joined the military already and gone through the academy and then come to us.
Was it difficult, the selection process? Where did you have some tests or other aspects were taken into consideration before you were selected for this course here?
So honestly, in Ukraine, before we arrived here, we got some English test, English on English language. It's main, I think, things which we must do before coming here. And then probably we take some people which already got some experience, but not too old, because, then people oldest, then that's hard to learn something to these people. Especially a lot of our guys here is young, but with some experience, not bad experience as for me, I think. So that's it.
I know it's a tricky question, but without any bad intention. In any selection process and in any learning process, there are people who are fast learner, slow learner. Here is the prize to be skillful during the war.
Yes.
How do you manage with someone struggling, or you see it's this person? It doesn't mean it's bad pilot, but it just shouldn't be here.
Well, there is a normal and rigorous process to help a student that is not quite making the grade at the right time. And all we're going to do with that is do some remedial training, try and find out why aren't they understanding what we're trying to teach them, and then move forward. We have experience in training pilots in the Royal Air Force for over 100 years. And that's what we will do with our own pilots or any other international pilots that we may train in the future. We have a process that we will go through, identify the weak spots if there are any, and work with that student to get them to the end of the course so they're then best prepared to go off and fly something faster. That is what we do. We're professional instructors in the Royal Air Force and have experience in training students from the start to get them to the end.
From the media, so narratives, and especially from the sides of Western partners of Ukraine, there were talks that, the language is the problem. Because it's professionally and especially in extreme situation, you have to use not your mother tongue. There's one thing. When I was talking to the pilot who was trained for F-16 in the US,
yes.
And his English wasn't a problem, but he was saying it took him a bit of time to manage this situation awareness.
Yes.
When there's different sort of sounds and communication going on, and this is kind of not the problem, but one of those things which
Sure.
he had to put such attention. Do you experience something like that, or you notice other sort of bumpy things or require special attention?
Having a good level of English before we get them flying is essential, which is why we put them through such a rigorous English language course before we start flying with them. Now, some people can learn languages quicker than others. That is just normal. But you spend time getting them to at least a base standard so that when we do start flying them, we're using this aircraft as an airborne English language trainer to help them to learn aviation English, think in English, and learn how to be taught in English in a Western way.
How about accents?
Accents.
Because there is,
Yes.
you know, there's Ukrainian English, there's German English, there's French English. I mean, and especially in the UK when you have so many regional accents. And I know from the officer who was training the crew in the UK, the Ukrainian crew for F-16, and he was worried that they were way too young.
Yep.
Too much knowledge, amount of things and skills to manage to remember for the short period of time. And the other thing is there were instructors not with the classical accent, not with the textbook accent. They were from regional strong accents.
So there are lots of different accents. And if I can expose the students to more and more accents before they get to a faster platform in another country who are teaching them in English, but that's not their natural language either, the more I can expose them to that now in this slightly slower environment on a more benign platform, the better. And they cope with it. They really do. It takes some time, but if you imagine how long they've been in the UK, so they do this intensive language course first. And then we slowly introduce more and more aviation language to them. You only know what you know. You only know the words that you've been taught. And if we introduce words that they don't understand, it could be a problem, which is why aviation language and talking on the radio, everybody uses the same words. It's not a conversation you're having with air traffic. It's not a conversation you're having with your opposite number, your wingman. You're using standard phrases that are short, succinct, and to the point, and everybody uses those words. So when they go off to the next nation, some of them actually find it easier because everybody is talking in a foreign language at that point, so you have to stick to those stock phrases. But the more we can get into them here, both in the flying environment but also trained on the ground, the better. And they do pick it up.
Do you sort of help them with the language on sort of academic and training side, or such activity like team building in a pub also inquire sort of part of language learning course?
They're obviously living in the military environment, but they are socialising in that military environment as well. So it's not just work language that we're using. There's conversational language there. It's a very intensive course. There's not a lot of time to have downtime, but the downtime that you do have, you still interact on that human social aspect, and you get different dialects, different conversations. So it's all part of that learning to integrate and go, right, I'm now starting to almost dream in English.
How do you have fun here? Because studying is good. Studying is like work hard and play hard. Well, obviously, you're supposed to work hard because there's a lot of things expected from you, and we all want to see soon victory for Ukraine and peaceful sky in Ukraine. But how do you relax, or how are you sort of take breath before carry on studying? Do you do any activities, or maybe going to pub or socializing together?
We speak with our families. Now in modern life and modern world I can communicate with my family, and maybe sometimes when I speak with my family I judge this positive, and it's helped me learn and study better.
Do you have not difficulties, but do you have this part of your training as explaining them some idioms? For example, for us, before we arrived today, and obviously there was emails, instructions and warnings and everything, and there was email, I think it was yesterday, and the phrasing was, the weather is playing ball with us, so flying might not be possible.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, well, it's another reference to sport, which I don't understand, but if flying might not be possible, it's probably something bad with the weather. Usually when it happens, I ask my husband, because this reference either cricket, either rugby, either horse riding, something like that. Do you have to explain them? Do you use these idioms to make them sort of more accustomed or close?
Yeah, we do. We use all the tools that we have as human beings to communicate and get that across to them. Once we've gone beyond that barrier, then we're going to try and bring it back to technical English and having it great. But certainly in the conversation, if someone doesn't understand, you're going to use anything that you can do to help them understand. Whether is that a picture, is that a TV show, whatever it is, and say, this is what I mean. And once you've got beyond that, you go, okay, the word for that is this. And we work together. This is a real team project. The Ukrainians are here to learn and we are their instructors, but we're operating together to give them the best chance when they go home. So whatever we can do to make that better, we will do.
Interesting. For the infantry, they train in dozens of thousands soldiers. Yeah. With the pilots, it's a small amount comparing to. Why is that? Is it because the selection process is hard? Is it because historically the group of pilots, they are just smaller, or there are some other explanations to this?
I would say that the effect that air can have on a battlefield as opposed to a single soldier with a single rifle is huge. If you think of one soldier with a rifle and a bullet as opposed to one pilot in a supersonic fighter delivering effect from the air, that is a force multiplier. You will need air to protect your troops on the ground. You will need air to be offensive on occasions. But the numbers that you need to achieve the same effect that you would have soldiers on the ground is a lot less. You cannot win a battle purely with air, but you will find it very difficult to win a battle without air. Control of the air will give you safety on the ground, and that is what we're trying to provide by giving Ukraine this capability.
Do you think training F-16 and Ukraine finally recently there was publicly announced that Ukraine has some jets already there? Do you think it's how close we are to this concept, just like returning the control in the air or making just enemy uncomfortable where we are?
That is one really to let governments decide and see how that plays out in politics. And in terms of capabilities, all we're doing is we're delivering that capability to Ukraine in the future. You know, it's really beyond the scope of what I can talk about as to what I think may or may not happen in the future. Sorry about that.
No. It's okay. Looking at this F-16 and you know, I'm as a journalist, as a Ukrainian, I'm always looking for the game changer. So for me, there's some sort of missiles were delivered. Is it a game changer? F-16s there. Is it a game changer? My question is how the cooperation between F-16 pilots and those systems, they few, not as many as Ukraine needs, air defense system, which already operate in Ukraine. This cooperation can be the game changer, or there are other aspects playing into role to actually have control in the air, being able to protect the sky in the cities and stop the civilians dying.
I think the word game changer or that concept and phrase is a missed thing. I don't think there is such a thing as a game changer. I think what we have to provide is a capability to ensure that we get to a position where the war ends and Ukraine come out of this war. The use of military and the use of F-16 soldiers, any war, is just an extension of that policy of a government. So by providing this capability that makes both sides come to the table and go, we have exhausted where we are in terms of military capability, we now have to talk. We are not going to solve a war with a game changer, be that an aircraft or a weapon system. What we are trying to do is make sure that you have a capability that is delivered to Ukraine so they can fly, fight and win, but winning means talking eventually.
Doesn't sound like pilot. The whole story with training abroad, flying, you know, some trained in the UK, some in America. So there's perspectives for the young boys and girls who always wanted or felt passionate about flying and probably consider themselves in the future. Is there something you would tell them, or kind of do this and you will be better prepared, or this and this will help you in the future. What I mean, for example, when I was talking to late pilot Juice, and I remember our conversation about his gaming on the stimulator, and he was sort of computer game, and he was obsessed with that. And I was surprised how useful, because he was referring many times when I was asking him about some peculiarities or aspects of flying, and he was explaining when on the stimulator it happens blah blah blah, and then some stimulator was just a computer game, and that was turned out to be part of the pilot's program. And I was surprised, because as a parent myself, obviously we feel very cautious about digital interaction of our children, and I was thinking, oh my goodness, actually the computer games can do some good for future of children, you know, if you in moderation. So what would you advise them or suggest for those who is looking on this?
So my first piece of advice to anybody who is looking to be a pilot, or anything for that matter, follow your dreams. There are too many people who will say, you'll never make that. I did. There are lots of other people make it. Follow your dreams. If people say no, it's only maybe no today, it's maybe not no tomorrow. Keep pushing, keep working at it. You will find a way.
Is there something you would like to tell those maybe little girls and boys, maybe those who are teenagers right now, and they are dreaming to become pilots, and maybe they will be those who are going to be at F-16 in the future?
For a hard question, we will win, and we will live in freedom country, maybe. I don't know what I can say for our young. I think we must, maybe guys and all adult Ukrainian must do something that our children have never seen this war again. That's why we will training exactly good and fight better than training.
Is there something in the UK that you were surprised about? Have you been before in Britain?
No, this is my first experience in Britain.
And what was the most surprising for you here?
The same world as than in Ukraine, exactly the same people, no problem. Very good people, and his support of these instructors, his work, and amazing.
How soon do you think you will get into F-16 and you will finally feel comfortable, or at least ready for some missions?
Okay, at this time it's hard to give right answer for this question, because I can only suppose, it will not be some hard to me, because I know what I do, and main reason for I don't know how's right to say you. Okay, I can just suppose, what. Sorry, it's really hard, Okay, start of the thing what F-16 is so modern aircraft. We never been have something like this, because all aircraft, all jets which we got, it's from Soviet Union times, and I think I will do my best, when I try to fly on F-16s. Also, probably, I hope in the future after F-16, after war, we got something else. But only what I know, and I'm sure on these things. All of us, we will do everything possible and impossible to maximum accelerate our win, I think.
Is there something you're proud? There's some moment of your own pride as a teacher, as an instructor, for these guys who came to get those skills to defend their country? Is there something, a special moment for you?
I'm incredibly proud because I'm helping Ukraine take back what has been stolen from them, and for me, I'm doing my little bit, however small this little bit is. I feel like I'm doing my little bit to help Ukraine.
Watching how UK was helping and supporting Ukraine, and I could explain it myself as a strong historical memory, what happened with Blitz, with London, with Second World War, when UK was alone, trying to stand against Nazi in Europe. And how would you explain? And maybe you see different sentiments to this, because I felt, oh my goodness, I'm so lucky. I live in the country that supports my home country. So maybe there's something else historically.
I think you're right to bring that up. I think the correlation and the similarities in our history and what is going on now. We in the United Kingdom understand probably more than most how the few can defeat the many. For us, and as we look back through history, this is almost their Battle of Britain moment. And that chimes with us in the UK, to understand that at the time Ukraine is alone, facing an aggressive threat, this is how we will work together to defeat that threat.
Today we had an opportunity to look and hear what is it, Operation INTERSTORM, and how Ukrainian pilots have been trained or going through training in the UK. We talked to instructors and pilots and students, and I was very excited. I hope it was interesting for you. Please let me know below in the comments what you think about it. And please don't forget, like, share, subscribe. Thank you for watching. I really appreciate you spend this time with me. Thank you.